Hi, I'm Trevor Lear. I'm Director of Product Development here at PDP and Victrix.
I want to go ahead and lead off by saying the Victrix Pro BFG wireless controller has won the award for Shacknews Best Gaming Accessory of 2022. Do you have any thoughts you'd like to share about this win?
Yeah, thanks. We're super excited, super happy. So thank you for giving us this honor. We're just so excited to finally have this thing out there, and we're glad that people are receiving it well, and we're so happy to get that honor from you guys.
So I want to get into the design philosophy behind the Pro BFG. How did you approach the controller's design, and what block of users were you aiming for?
So the Pro BFG is actually, it's built to fit any type of gamer. So the design, that's where we started with the design. You can play an FPS game with this, you can play a fighting game, you can play any genre of game. So as we were, working on the design, looking at all different hand sizes, different, form factors, different way people hold the controller. So we do lots of design research, user testing to determine what's the best placement, for each button, analog stick, back paddle, all that kind of stuff. So lots goes into it from that perspective, even down to, where do the back paddles get placed? I mean, you'll see on a lot of controllers out there, people have back paddles, but they're kind of all placed differently. So through our hand studies, we've been able to identify this is the optimal location for those 4 buttons to fit the largest amount of hand sizes, whether you have small hands, medium, or large. So just lots of work, lots of revisions and iterations on the design, both for the form factor as well as aesthetics. So that's kind of where we start with it and just keep going, iterating until we all feel comfortable and feel like, hey, this is fitting our target of working on every game genre.
It's funny because I'm gonna get flack this. I don't like the PS5 controller. I have very lengthy hands, and if you have big hands or long hands, it's a very uncomfortable controller. Not to mention you put it down and it leans on the buttons. Huge design flaw that no one talks about. But you guys have fixed this by seemingly making a PS5 controller that's an Xbox controller in a way.
Yeah, so that's one of the best things that I like about this is that it's modular, and with that you can change the layout. So here, I mean, you'll see this is an Xbox layout controller, right, where you have your analog stick up top and D-pad down bottom. That's your traditional Xbox layout. Whereas PlayStation, I'll just grab another controller that's already set up, would be more like this, right, where you have your D-pad up top and your analog stick down bottom. So at the end of the day, it comes down to preference, maybe game type, but really preference. And we found, a lot of competitive gamers prefer the Xbox style layout. So we wanted to give that option while still keeping it true to PlayStation, with the, PlayStation layout. But it's very easy to do. So we include, a tool here, and you would just simply, hard to show on camera, you just unscrew 2 hex screws here. And then you can actually just pull out the modules. So let me do that really quick here and just show you live. So you just unscrew these 2 hex screws. You can pull this module out. You can see it comes out now, and here it is. And then you can just flip it around to whichever layout you want and then screw it back in. So that can be done on the fly. It's nothing crazy, just 2 screws there and can be done on the fly. And now you've got whichever layout you prefer. So that's something we're super proud of, to give the user the option to switch between a PlayStation or Xbox style layout, whether they change it one time or they change it based on their game style. So super, super cool feature.
It's the fight pad module that really fascinates me. How did you go about approaching that design?
Yeah, so the fight pad, Victrix, we also make fight sticks, right? So we have been in the FGC for a while. We have the Pro FS and our FS12, Pro FS12. So we have a lot of roots into fighting games, and we wanted to bring that into this controller as well. So again, tying this controller into all game genres. So in the case, you'll get your fight pad here. So similar story. You can unscrew, this side module, this right side module. You can plop in your fight pad and then, screw it in, and you're good to go with the 6-button layout. So this is just nice. Not everyone that plays a fighting game plays on a fight stick. Some people prefer pad, and this is it's nice. It gives you an easy way to travel, and you can use your 3 fingers to hit your 6 buttons there. So this is really cool. Stylize it a little bit more towards, fighting game aesthetics. And we actually use micro switches in here. So if you hear, I'm not sure if you'll be able to hear, but these are clicky buttons. So they're actually micro switches, which are very responsive, very tactile, and just give you that advantage as you're quickly trying to execute your combo.
Not too long ago, you kind of designed something similar for the Xbox user. You designed the Victrix Gambit dual core tournament controller. So how much of that design was a baseline for what you put together with the Pro BFG?
Yeah, that's great. We did launch the Gambit dual core controller on Xbox, and a lot of that, I mean, you'll see similarities in the design, right? Kind of the overall shape and form factor is very similar. There's differences, but it's very similar. And again, that goes into, our countless hours of design research and in ergonomics and hand studies. So yes, the Gambit controller, Gambit dual core definitely helped us shape the Pro BFG. And really, we just built on top of that, right? Gambit is the world's fastest licensed Xbox controller, which is fantastic. It's a wired controller. There's swappable attachments, right? You have your sniper stick, your different gates, your silicone faceplate, all those things, which we wanted to include here in the BFG as well. Obviously, BFG is a wireless or wired controller. So that's a huge step up. And then just really making this modularity, taking it to the next step, right? So you still have your attachments with your sniper stick or your different D-pads, different octagonal gates, but really going the extra step with the rotatable module or the fight pad module. So yeah, there's a lot of similarities between the two, and Gambit definitely helped shape BFG for us.
You guys talk about like your fight sticks. 3 years ago, we reviewed a fight stick. TJ reviewed a more recent one on the site as well. Like, what did you learn from that feedback from the fight stick? But how did you use any of that feedback to implement into the BFG? Like, did you see what worked with the fight stick and see how we can translate that to the pad players? Because there aren't many pad fighting players out there, but at the same time, they do want pads to play on that are modular or that fit their play style.
Yeah, so when we first launched our fight stick in 2019, it was awesome, great, and then we've improved upon it as most recently as Evo 2022. So yeah, TJ reviewed it there. I met him at Evo, and gave him the demo of both the Pro FS and our new FS12. And so what we've learned from our fight sticks is, that community really wants a premium product. What they care about is speed, performance, longevity, durability, all those things. That's really what we wanted to build into the BFG. So we definitely kept, our speed. Latency is very important in any game, but especially a fighter, right, where every frame counts. So we definitely wanted to incorporate our speed of the fight stick into the Pro BFG. So we've done that. And then again, just with the premium materials and solid build quality, we wanted to, bring that into the BFG as well and just make it feel good in your hands. We have soft touch materials here. This is a rubberized grip on the front, as well as rubberized grip on the back here. So just premium materials, overall solid build quality and performance is what this market is going for. I actually have one of the fight sticks here. So this is the Pro FS12, which we released in August last year. So it's a little bit different take on a fight stick, right? There's actually no stick. It's a leverless stick. So instead it replaced those directional, your joystick with directional buttons. So you have your 4 directional buttons here. And this just gives you an advantage in terms of speed and reaction time, right? Because you're just pushing a button versus making a movement on a joystick. So that's what we think is also very nice here, is that this is just pushing buttons. You're using your D-pad, you're using, the 6 microswitch buttons. So it's very fast reaction time.
So one thing that I want to point out, and we already sort of touched on this with the form factor. Greg touched on the form factor of the Pro BFG versus the DualSense. And one other thing that the Pro BFG has that the DualSense, actually it should be the other way. One thing that the Pro BFG doesn't have compared to the DualSense is haptic feedback. Now, that's an exclusive feature to the DualSense, but as it's been explained to me, that's actually kind of an advantage for you guys. So can you explain why that actually works out better for you guys?
Yeah, so like you said, haptic feedback, adaptive triggers, as Sony calls it, is exclusive to them. We could not implement that if we wanted to, but being this level of controller, right, this is a pro controller, that's not a pro feature, right? That's maybe an entry consumer feature who's interested in kind of the immersion. Pro gamers actually turn off all rumble, all kind of feedback like that, because it's a distraction to you, right? It slows you down. It's a distraction to your movements. So you find most pro gamers actually turn off rumble and adaptive triggers and those kind of things anyways, because it just slows down your reaction and it takes you away from the focus of being in the game. So being a pro controller, that's our target. We feel that that's totally fine. We don't need to have rumble. That feature is turned off anyways.
So one thing that I want to note that I haven't fully taken advantage of in my time with the Pro BFG, but something that's a pretty big feature, is you have the Victrix Control Hub app. And this is the proprietary app for configuring your controller. What does that open up to the average user?
Yeah, so that really gives you a graphical, interface to be able to customize your controller how you want. Most of the functions you can do in the app, you can also do directly on the controller, right? So we have all these back buttons here, these 4 back buttons. you can map these to whatever button you want, and you can do that directly on the controller, just by holding the function button here and then pressing the back paddle and then clicking whichever button you want to program it to. So that's something you want to do on the fly. Probably maybe you're playing and you just want to quickly change that, but you can also do it in the app. Same things with the volume adjustment, or most things you can do on the controller itself. But again, the app will give you that graphical experience to kind of set it up, visualize how your controller is configured, click through the different profiles you have, and really understand how have you set your controller up. That way, when you are using it, you understand how you've configured it. But yes, the Control Hub app is great. It also allows you to update, your controller firmware. We're always, improving things, adding new features, making it better, listening to the user, and that Control Hub app allows us to update the controller.
One of the things I'm curious about is we've seen the back pedal buttons become more and more kind of, I don't know if demand is the right word, but I want to know, in your research, in your R&D, like, do you feel the future of all controllers will have back pedal buttons? Do you feel like that'll be a feature people will actually want and games will utilize them? Maybe some games will be required to play them, because I know when they first released, they were kind of niche. People used them for racing games, specifically to shift. That was the big thing. And now people are using them more for fighting games, other games. They're macroing them to certain PC games. Like, do you feel like, based on your research for this controller, that it's going to become standard in the next several years or so?
I think so. I think back buttons are definitely becoming more and more common. I think people are understanding how to use them, configure them how they want. When they first came out, like you said, it was very specific, and it's a learning curve, right? You have to train yourself to use those back buttons. And actually, as we started research and developing of the Gambit dual core controller, we found the optimal amount of back buttons was two back buttons. But now, just a couple years later, we see that it's four. Four is the optimal amount of back buttons that you need to compete and play competitively or even casually. So that's why you'll see that we do have four here. So yes, I think that it's evolving. I think, people are getting better at muscle memory and just learning these things and understanding how to use that to your advantage. I mean, the purpose of a back button in like an FPS game is you can crouch or jump or reload or whatever you want to do without taking your thumb off the analog stick, right? You want to keep your thumbs on the analog stick at all times to control your movements, rather than having to, take your thumb off, press the X button to reload, or, jump or something. So that's the advantage there. So the more, people are getting familiar with this, you really take advantage of those features and make you faster and more competitive player. So yeah, I think that back buttons are going to be more and more common on everyday controllers.
All right, and last question from me. How did you go about determining the final price? Like, was the goal to stay comparable to other Pro controllers or even arcade sticks that are currently on the market?
Victrix, we're a premium brand. We have expensive products. Obviously, our fight sticks are $399, very expensive. But we really also want to target, an entry price point that consumers can afford, right? So there's a couple products out there competing with the BFG. You guys know about those. We obviously don't know those pricing as we're developing our controller. So we developed the controller to fit a price that we felt is going to be acceptable by the community, by the market, while still allowing us to, deliver all these premium Pro features at a solid build quality. So it comes down to that. We want to deliver the best product for the best price that we think the market is ready for.
All right, Trevor, thank you so much. It was really cool to hear about the Pro BFG. It's really cool to actually try out the Pro BFG and actually have one of my own. Thank you to Victrix for providing that. And congratulations on your win for Best Gaming Accessory of 2022.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. We're so happy. Thank you for the award, and we're just glad this thing is out there, and we hope the community receives it as well as they have so far, and we look forward to seeing it advance.
Just like you have the Gamut for the Xbox. Do you think, if supply demands, you guys have any plans to make a BFG compatible with Xbox Series X and S at the current moment in time, or you're just focusing on PlayStation and PC right now?
Sure. Yeah. There's always that thought. We're always looking at what can we do in the future. What's the roadmap? So we're always planning those things. But I'm sure you guys know there's no wireless third-party controllers on Xbox right now. So that's really what BFG is, right? It's modular and it's wireless and it's a Pro controller. So Gambit is kind of the next best thing that we can do on Xbox, being the world's fastest licensed controller, wired controller on Xbox. So if the opportunity allows, we would, love to bring BFG to Xbox, but right now that's the Gambit offering.